Hey guys, Rusty. I'd like to welcome you to my channel and thank you for being here. Um, Today I'm going to discuss some of the trials, tribulations, and turbulence that is caused from trauma. When I remember somebody telling me when I was growing up that when I would talk a lot, that was a good thing. Well, normally when I'm excited about something or I feel exceedingly or I'm passionate about something or I feel passionate about a conviction, typically on average I have a lot to say. Um, that actually is um, one of the things that there's a few different reasons why that happens for me. One of the reasons is because nobody says anything. Silent treatment, invalidation, dismissive behaviors. Or not behaviors, but well, behaviors. Those are the inevitability of what happens. Another reason why I tend to um, sh- say a lot, and sometimes it's unfortunate that I've hurt people and I've been considered a liability and a risk, which is another video for another day, another dollar. But another reason why I tend to do this is because um, it's a way of me not holding it in. Because if I bottle it up and if I'm really upset about something, whether it's frustration, whether it's, um, whether I'm severely depressed. Well, if I'm severely depressed, actually, I'm not really too bad because I'm just kind of like a bump on a log and I really don't really do much except for just kind of sleep and deep sleep is different. On a side note, loves. Deep sleep is different when there's a depressive state of sleep, there's a deep sleep, there is light sleep. There's different variances of sleep in degrees. You can be, for example, if one drinks excessive amounts of alcohol and blacks out and passes out, per se, that kind of sleep is something completely different than somebody being in a severe depression who sleeps, which is somebody who's completely different, who's in a healthy relationship or starting to build on healthy relationships and getting a good night's rest. Good night's sleep is refreshing, but not all sleep is going to be as such. Um, Trauma response number two for me is because um, um, number two is falling for the bait. That's sharing information that I wouldn't normally share because I'm agreeable. It's easy for me to be baited in a conversation or in a dialect or a dialogue per se, um, in which I give away information. Also, sometimes when I also give away too much information when I feel on an intuitive on an intuitive level that the information being shared isn't being shared openly by the people that are actually conducting in the situational, circumstantial, contextual. They're not being open. They're not telling the truth. That's one thing that really, actually, I get very, um, aggressively assertive about when it comes to sharing my opinion. Most of the time, when it comes to me and my opinion, it's just I'm not looking for validation. Really, I'm just trying to figure me out because I am, at my core, really not too bad of a person. And in all honesty, that actually is the hardest trauma that I'm trying to overcome at the current moment is acceptance and will of fruition for genuine intent. Meaning, it's hard to accept the fact that a person could just be a good person and could have been masking to appease because there's no other way to get through. There's no way to converse. There's no way it's a comprehensive differential. It's a matter there's a difference loves when it comes to different differences. There's a matter of apples and apples, okay? There's apples and oranges. When comparatively speaking, apples and oranges have a lot more in common because they can sit there and say, "Oh, look at me. I'm kind of, I'm kind of a sweetheart sometimes." And the apple says, I'm a sweetheart sometimes, but I really do have a sour streak." And then the orange would sit there and say, "Yeah, I don't really know too much about this sour part. I mean, I get a little bitter in the beginning, but otherwise I kind of round out a little bit. But yeah, I'm kind of pulpy though." And the apple's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of meaty. Man, it's a good thing that we landed up in the same basket together, 'cause it's fruit." but but when you are comparatively speaking, loves, when you are having examples of apples and asparagus, for example, apple's going to be like, "Hi, stem," and the asparagus is going to go, "Stocky." Asparagus is going to go, "Green." Apple's going to go, "Yeah, my granny was." But me being the Honeycrisp, not too sure about that. When I was young, I remember. Okay, this is getting silly. Okay. um, so there are differences, but when you are talking about apples and alternators, you're going to sit there and strip it apart and say, at best, maybe have our we both have the ability to facilitate um the energizing and nutritional value to keep a body in motion, perhaps. I don't know. When you're talking about apples and peacocks, when you're talking about apples and nebulas, so there is a spectrum. When it comes to the trauma, also, another reason why I tend to say a lot is because I was told by several different areas growing up that I needed to tone down, calm down. I literally have been told I've been talking too much. I was taught how to play the quiet game, which, really quick, the quiet game is what it is. It's you be quiet. When I was learning how to play that game, I actually had to start over and start from the beginning and try and learn from learn from the start, all like at least 3 or 4 times, because it's like, okay, well, what is quiet? This is where a matter of comprehensive and perception comes into play. This is more comprehensive. So, quiet. What is quiet? Is quiet no noise? What's no noise? Quiet is no noise. It's quiet. Okay. What's noise? Is noise speaking? You can't talk during the quiet game, by the way. So, words. What about sounds? What about humming? What about whistling? What about tapping? I didn't say anything though. So that's where it's a matter of that's when it comes down to that's one of the ways that you can tell that that's actually I think closer to narcissistic abuse, because it's a half truth. Because a person could sit there and say, "Can we just not make any noise and just be quiet and not talk and just be calm for a minute?" Or the person who needs the quiet could step away. But if you're in a vehicle and you have kids and your kids are the one who are talking and wanting, doing what kids do, and you're the person who's like, okay, I had a really, 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 really long week at work, and I have a lot of demands, and my boss is breathing down my neck, and I just broke up with my boyfriend, and, you know, my parent, or whatever. So the thing is, from sharing a lot, that's also ADD part as well. ADHD, I think, is what it is. I know I have ADD, but um but it's a matter of, I don't know what the point is. So when it comes to the trauma, it's a matter of comprehensive. It's a comprehending level. It's like, because quite literally, there are some people, they're not, for me and other people, it's a matter of you don't understand. And it's quite literally, you don't understand. Just like for me personally, there are some things that I literally don't understand. I don't get. I have to learn. I don't understand. And it bothers me because it's so prevalent and it's so present, and I don't understand it. So I have to figure it out because I don't want to be caught off guard. I don't want to be caught with my pants down, and I don't want it to come back and bite me in the ass. I also don't want to see the negative repercussions, consequences, and ramifications of me actually enabling, and even worse, becoming something like that, which I've already done. Thankfully, that's trauma. People do weird things when nobody's listening. People do even odder things when nobody believes you. It's a lot easier to fabricate a lie and believe it than it is to admit admit the truth. And admitting the truth, darling, doesn't necessarily imply that it is bad or good. It could be one of those things where it's a little bit of both. Instead of arranging it and instead of arranging it in a matter of good versus bad, okay? Try placing it in a sense of, or right and wrong, try placing it in a sense of helpful, not helpful, useful, not useful, helpful, hurtful, hurtful, harmful. Um, um, when it comes to trauma responses as well, um, for me, a trauma response is typically something is a physical, emotional, mental, or psychological response that is triggered and typically lasts around anywhere between 20 seconds to approximately a minute and a half. The thing that's hard is, let's go over real quick, kind of going back over what a trauma could possibly be. So, for example, if somebody is told, for example, that I like peas, or if somebody says, I like peas, and then some person A says, I like peas. Person B says, no, you don't. I don't like peas. And then person A, being agreeable, says, oh, yeah, I get that. Person B then says, okay, thinks to themselves, okay, you don't like peas. So then they don't serve peas. And then one day they serve peas, except something's different with the meal. Like it's too seasoned, it's too salty, it's too. And the peas are in there. And then person A says, I don't really like this. And then person B says, yeah, it's because you don't like peas, remember? It's really, sadly, that easy. And then person B will sit there and go on and give a couple of examples as to personal stories as to why peas, they personally don't like peas. So the trauma is the fact that you mix in something that is unsure into something that is surely not good. That's the first trauma. The second part about the trauma then is to reiterate it, to inform it, to validate it. Negative consequences, okay? This is the reason why I don't like a da 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 da. Okay? The trauma then gets, over a period of time, then slowly but surely it stacks on in little pieces like that. It's subtle ways. It's really, it's really like, mm, like a micro expression. I'm not sure what those are though. They're the little things in between the other emotions. I digress. Just kidding. That's another, the straying from a point is a trauma response for me. It's because of the matter of being depressed for the majority of my life. It's a matter of having bipolar. And so, which I'm exceedingly grateful that I have bipolar. And I'm thoroughly thankful that I have ADD. Because without those two things, I wouldn't be able to handle the emotional range and experiences that I have. They're not necessarily, this is from a completely neutral standpoint, and if the tone is offsetting and more deeper, denoting something more serious, I apologize. But no, loves, this is from a neutral standpoint, both very good and both bad in extreme measures. So, The straying from the point is from the depression. It's also because I get tired. It's also because I realize that where my where I'm trying to just simply validate my own point is at a loss. Like it doesn't matter. One of the things about trauma that's interesting is there was the verbal example. Now I'm going to give you a physical example of that is okay. Here we go. Physical example. If I were to make a fist and punch myself and somebody were to punch you, get punched in the arm like that, or somebody were to punch you, okay? If you were to keep doing that repeatedly over a period of time, chronologically speaking, eventually the area would bruise, it would swell, there would be inflammation. If it's hit hard enough, it would bruise and break blood cells. Now, after the bruising is gone, you still may actually feel where the pain was. After the inflammation and the swelling and all the bruising and everything settles back into place and it's back to normal, you're still going to remember that hit. So when somebody walks up to you after everything's healed and everything's said and done, and they say, how's it going? You're going to be like, oh, you're the where they, the contact, it's the connection, it's the contact. It's not necessarily a physical contact, but it's the connectivity between yourself and other people, whether other is more one individual, solo, or whether it's coupled, or whether it's multiplied. And herein lies the one of the interesting structures of complex. Is one of the things for me when it comes to the complexities of trauma is for the fact that there's different areas of not only empathy, intuition, but also intelligence that has been affected in some shape, size, or form by trauma. Now, let's not mistake, loves. Just because I've been through trauma does not mean I'm a victim, does not mean I'm hurt, does not mean I'm in pain. Suffering is not at a loss as long as one finds the pieces of themselves they left behind. Inexplicably, yes, intrinsically, facetious, plausible, exceedingly, yes, doable, case by case. When it comes to inflicting a trauma on somebody, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes something that somebody is scared of. So let's say loud noises bother somebody. Well, let's say you find out somebody doesn't like loud noises because they tell you, I don't like loud noises. So then what happens is there are engines revving, there's music, there's loud bass playing, there's music, there's people having arguments, there's screaming, there's dogs barking, there's the whole 9 yards, everything you could think of. Over an extended period of time, say 2 to 5 years, that is going to probably consistently. Now, when it comes to it's consecutive, consistent, and it's constant, is where the traumas come into play. This is where the gaslighting effect really needs to be implemented, is because A person has enough sense for themselves as an individual, and if they're a good and decent person, they have enough mind for their own. They may be agreeable, they may be appeasing, but at the same time, they actually know themselves well enough to know what is helping and what is hurting. Whether they admit to it or not is irrelevant, but they know. People know, folks. You guys know. So the gaslighting effect comes into play to interject false pretenses um, through aggressive passivity, because it's actually things that have nothing to do with the relevance of how you feel, but it's a question that um, can be implemented to make you doubt and wonder because it's not the norm. It's like, this is not something I would normally do. This is not anywhere near anything. Um, Trauma is, let's see here, also some more trauma responses. I think that's just going to kind of brush over that and I think end on that note. So, when it comes to trauma, one of the things that helps out a lot is being in a stress-free environment, which isn't necessarily possible. Um, the idea of a stress-free environment is an environment in which all activity is desirable, pleasurable, productive, and motivating. Not necessarily even motivating, but directional. It has intention, it has purpose, it has a place to go. They're like goals. If people who are goal oriented, that would be goal oriented kind of. My foot fell asleep. And it tickles. And it's really like spicy. It's like spiky. Oh, you know how, from speaking, kind of tying back to the comprehensive level real quick, one of the things that I've noticed about myself that seems kind of interesting is the fact, because there's the omnivore going on, so there's the duality of the neurobiology and the sound structure of my capacity. One of the things that I've noticed that's interesting is that typically, on average, neurotypical right side of the brain controls left side of the body, left side of the brain controls right side of the body. Left side of the brain is logical, right side of the brain is creative. Left side of the brain would be practical, right side of the brain would be emotional. So it's kind of like that. Now there's variables, everyone's has their range of emotions and, you know, practicalities and pragmatic approaches and how they deal with things. But for me, it's almost like right brain is right side of the body, left side of the brain is left side of the body. That's how it just lines up, how it feels, I guess. Um, there are going to be moments where I probably will share too much. There's probably information, but another reason why I tend to talk a lot about a lot of different things and is because it's stuff that doesn't get talked about but people think about, and I wonder if people think about it. So I could ask, do you think about these kind of things? Do you wonder about this? Do you have any queries about this? Do you ponder any thoughts? That'd probably be the best way to ask. That's a better approach than just dropping it. Um, but I will continue to just try to get away from that. One of the things also about healing through trauma is being able to see the fact that that happens and that happened, and being able to rectify that in present times by possibly reducing and mitigating for future um, interactions, whether that's with oneself, whether that's with oneself in the world, whether that's with the world, whether that's with the world with oneself, however it comes out. Um, that actually gets less because like for me, I realize it's like, okay, this is not okay, this is too much, this is not too much. And I really try and catch myself. I don't do it all the time, but I really try. And there's that part where it's just like I can tell it's like I can like I catch myself and I'm like, ah, stop, no, 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 don't do it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Ah, she's doing it again. Awkward. Well, until the next time, then, darlings, I wish you and bid you good day, good eve. I'm going to try out Hibachi Grill here in town on Friday, which is going to be nice. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I like buffet style, but and it's Asian cuisine, so that's nice. Um, I was only able to get to the side dishes because I really like side dishes, and I was really excited about them, and that's as far as I got. And then, um, thank you to my lovely neighbor who took me, who had mentioned going there for dinner. It's brilliant. Um, but then I made it to the ice cream afterwards, and that's as far as I got. And I would really like to try that again. So that's kind of me. So I will talk to you guys later. And thank you, darlings, for the reminder, gently reminding to make sure to not fall for the bait. Stay focused. No more tears, which I'm gonna cry at some point, but they may be happy. Is that okay? And also, time is of the essence in some cases. And also, thank you for the gentle reminder. Thank you. Um, going to be taking this in a more business aspect after breaking things down further. We still have to go over sacrifices. I suppose trauma could be one of them. But is it a sacrifice if you heal past it? Because then you're no longer carrying it. Then, in a way, it's better than before because you're not carrying it. Plus, you have the any lessons that you want to learn from it. Mmm. Mmm. That is nice. I wouldn't recommend going through trauma. It'd be nice to sit there and, you know, I wouldn't. But I mean, like, well, I mean, like, if you have people in your life, like, that's not what I'm not, like, like, because if you have people that that have, you know, like, been through trauma, then I'm not saying, like, kick him, like, don't be, that, no, 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 that's, mm, that may have just gotten awkward. Mm. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.